up, though? What up, though? This is Detroit Mail with another IOW short. And as you can see from the title, Ed Reed has been fired from Bethune-Cookman. We can talk about whether or not, his rant on social media was right or wrong. I think the biggest thing to talk about here is what Ed Reed has exposed, and even connect that to the Deion departure from Jackson State and some of the things that was coming out, allegations that were said through Deion and that came out about Jackson State. The overall thing is the conditions of HBCUs. I think all the energy should be looked towards that instead of focusing all our energy on, whether or not Deion should have left, whether or not Ed Reed should have did the video and things of that nature. I don't often agree with Roland Martin, but there's some things in his assessment of it that I want to point out in the video I'm about to roll right here.
Hall of Famer Ed Reed is the latest professional athlete hired by an HBCU to be their head football coach. He was hired by Bethune-Cookman University. He has not signed his contract yet, so he's technically not the head coach yet. But he's already started, and he caused an uproar on social media the other day on Sunday when he did a live stream and he posted this particular video here. I'm going to show it for you. Again, a lot of people were mad, upset. Folks have been trashing him, saying he's wrong. Others say, you know what, we think Ed Reed is right. Watch this.
I've been mutting and showing shit. I chose not to, but now I'm out here walking with the football team, picking up trash. But I'm mutting us. Man, get out of here, man. I should leave. I'm not even under contract doing this. I'm mutting us? Man, get out of here, man. They mutt me. These motherfuckers ain't even clean my goddamn office when I got here. I'm mutting y'all? Get your ass, man. Come on, man. Come on, man. All this shit here was trash in front of me. Who you think got this shit cleared out? That building right there got trash in it. It's fucking trash. What are you talking about?
Now, he earlier had made a comment where he said that he had agreed with Deion Sanders, where he said there's a broke mentality that exists among HBCU administrators. And so folks got just lit. They were upset and mad and all of that because of what Ed Reed had to say. So let me unpack what my thoughts on here. And that is this here. It's a lot of people out here who have a lot to say, but the reality is most people have never actually worked in a black-owned institution. Let me repeat that, have never actually worked in one. First of all, there are 230,000 students black students that attend 230,000 students that attend HBCUs. 20% of HBCU students are non-black, okay? There are 1.5 to 1.6 million black students that attend PWIs. Now, when you look at HBCUs, a little more than 100 in the country. You look at black newspapers, a little more than 100 in the country. And so when you start talking about black-led institutions, we could talk about black newspapers, we could talk about black churches, we could talk about black-owned businesses. Pre-COVID, there were 2.6 million black-owned businesses in America. 2.5 million of those black-owned businesses had one employee doing about average revenue of $54,000. Why am I saying all of that? Because the reality is there is a consistent thread when you begin to look at black institutions, lack of resources, a surviving mentality versus a thriving mentality based upon the conditions in which they have been confronted with. And we were sitting in a meeting and they were going back and forth. The papers were complaining about the lack of advertising dollars that black newspapers were getting from CompUSA. At the time, Tom Joyner Morning Show and Tavis Smiley had went after CompUSA for their advertising. And so I'm sitting there listening to the conversation and as they're talking, and after about 30 minutes, I really got fed up with the conversation and I raised my hand. I said, let me ask y'all a question. If CompUSA asked any of you to send them your media kit via PDF and email, could you do it? Somebody in the back said, who is that young nigga up there talking? And y'all know I don't use the N words. I'm only using that because I'm quoting what happened. I said a young nigga with email who knows what a PDF is. I said, you can't sit in this room and complain about CompUSA not buying ads in black newspapers if you yourself don't even use computers. And so when you are hearing these criticisms, there are people who get real defensive. And I was in these meetings, the people, they were sitting telling me, well, you know, Roland, we can't do this and we can't do that and we can't afford to do this. And I said, wait, hold up. This ain't about whether you can afford to do something. The question is, what are the basic fundamental things that you're doing? And so when you start talking about facilities, you got to ask yourself the question, okay, you are mad at Ed Reed for his comments. Here's the question. Was he speaking the truth about trash on the campus? It's either yes or no.
Now, one of the things I want to say after watching the Roland Martin video is he had brought up the fact they talked about black institutions having a broke mentality. And I think that was big here. And when you look at the incidents of the HBCUs, particular, we're talking about Jackson State and Ed Reed, but more focusing on Ed Reed, and that's about the latest one. But this idea of we can't do this and we can't do that, I think is even deeper than that, because if you watched our live show we did on Thursday, Lamar and I kind of addressed the issue. And I think Lamar addressed it on a Late Night Owl show and kind of talk about this, that we have both went to HBCUs. I went to it for undergrad. I think he went there for undergrad. So some of these things that Dion and some of the things that Ed Reed is pointing out, we've seen it firsthand. We were witnessing to some of these things. And so I can relate to what he's saying. But what I really want to kind of bring out is that if you really look at what's going on, there's so many layers to it. So many things I can't really get into far as detail because it make this video super long. But there we are conditioned. It's a conditioning. It's a thing that happened throughout the years, and I think like when some of these in some of these black institutions get into a position of power, get drunk with power, get drunk with the money. And it's all about the money and the power and not their job. Not the job they should be doing. More focused on the money, the power, keeping that status. Hey, I seen it in Detroit public schools when you see the principal making $90,000, $100,000 a year, and the school looks like hell. They ride around in foreign cars, and the school looks like, the lap is just destroyed. Bars on the windows, trash everywhere, dirt everywhere, rats in the buildings. Just unsavory conditions. But the principals are paid top-notch dollars. The teachers are paid crap, and the school is in bad condition. And it goes over and going to the HBCUs, the same kind of concept. You see the ADs, the prevosts, all those people making all this money, and then the rest of the teachers are paid crap. The athletic the coaches are not really paid that much, or if hardly even paid. I think Roland Martin pointed out in his video, talking about how he worked at a black institution. I can't remember which one it was, but I want to say it's the Chicago Defender. He said, well, they couldn't get the furnace fixed because they wouldn't pay nobody. And I willing to bet you, he didn't say it, I don't know, but the person who ran it probably riding around a fancy car, looking nice, and worried about getting the money, and not worried about the thing that's giving you the money, the paper. Same with these HBCUs. You can go down a line when you look at different things that there's a lot of us that's in, and you see that same mentality of it's all about getting this money, forget everybody else. And I think that's the bigger issue. How do we stop that? What do we do to stop that? It's going to be another Ed Reed. It's going to be another Dion, that's going to come along and we're gonna get behind them with our words, but not get behind them with our actions. You know, it's interesting that in this country we gotta talk about Black-owned business, but not a business owner that happen to be Black that own a business. That speaks volume. And I think that is what something we need to focus on, is how to not only fix these institutions, but fix the mentality that we have when it comes towards money and power. You know, we can get a job making money. That's fine. I'm not against that. I'm not against you having status. What I am against is that how that is juxtaposed of how you treat the institution that you're in. You know, if you're an institution, especially when it comes to growing young minds, when it comes to, you know, making leaders out of kids, and you giving them this image of we less than, we can't afford to do anything, we have less than what everybody else has. That's not it. If you think that, anybody who thinks that it's because people who are people of color or Black people are less than, that's why these institutions are like that, or they're not smart enough, that's why these institutions are like that, that is not what it is. It's more about the conditioning of the people that is running these things. It's more about the mentality of the people who run these things. And that is something that has been, you know, what's the word I want to use? That's something that has been ingrained in us for years, for generations and generations. But one thing I can say about the older generation, and I remember my great grandfather and great aunts and all them, they had less, but they had pride of what they had. Now, a lot of this generation have more, but have no pride of what they have no kind of concept of, of community. Yeah, I have, but what about our community? I remember neighborhood watching. My great grandfather was the head of neighborhood watching, the block club. Now, I meant to say block club, not neighborhood watch, but the block club, and they had different things that went on, you know, for the community. They barbecues, and we had swimmobile, and all these things we did within the community where everybody knew everybody and everybody was together, and it was about community, you know. And that's the one thing that we lost in this generation. And now it's all about, I must gang, I must have, and forget everybody behind us. But I want to put out this short video about the firing of Ed Reed and kind of really talk about more about not about his firing, about the mentality of our people, the mentality of HBCUs, the mentality of the people who run these institutions and how to fix them. We focus so much on the individual person and what they did. Let's focus more on the collective group or the collective institution that's falling apart right before our eyes. But anyway, if you have not do it, like and subscribe to IOW Sports. We are on YouTube. We are on Facebook. We have our own Facebook group. Join the group. We put a lot of stuff on there, and it's there for you. If you want to post something in the Facebook group, you can. Sports related, memes, rep your team. Whatever you want to do is there for you. It's part of we're there for networking. If you got your own podcast, you can upload it to the IOW Facebook network group. And every Monday and Thursday, hey, we do live shows talking about all sports. So if you like sports and you want to jump in, Monday 4 p.m. Eastern time, Thursday 4 p.m. Eastern time, jump in the comments, jump on the show if you want, and give your take on what we're talking about. And don't forget to subscribe and hit that like button. Until next time, peace.